Welcome. We are the Revcoms. We are here on the first anniversary of the US-NATO-Russian war in Ukraine. And now for a major announcement from the Revcoms, here's Noche Diaz, national spokesperson for the Revolution Clubs.
No US-NATO war with Russia. Stop the US threats against China. No World War III. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to go extinct. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution. 1 year ago today, February 24th, Russia began its illegal invasion of Ukraine. In the past year, tens of thousands and perhaps hundreds of thousands have died in the fighting. Millions more have been casualties of the collateral damage of war and been made refugees. While we see the horror in this destruction and devastation, the rulers of the US have seen opportunity, licking their chops, jumping at the chance to throw Ukrainians to the meat grinder of Russia's war machine. They saw the opportunity, the chance to use Ukrainian soldiers with US weapons to weaken America's imperialist rival, Russia, and to greatly expand the US-NATO military alliance and its presence and domination throughout Europe and beyond. Both sides are now preparing for further offensives as the US and NATO pour billions more into Ukraine, provide further weaponry as well as deep intelligence and strategic planning. This last year has also seen a massive escalation of the US threats against China. This past year has seen Joe Biden 4 times threaten to send US troops to the island of Taiwan, which the US doesn't even officially recognize as a separate country, to counter any Chinese military actions there. The US has ramped up its economic warfare against China. The US has expanded its military presence in the Philippines to use as a strategic stepping stone to Asia. The US has conducted military exercises with Japan, one of which recently was seen as deepening the role of the US and NATO in preparing for conflict with China. And the recent shooting down of a Chinese air balloon over the US has come with even louder warlike rhetoric and behavior from the US. Biden and other US mouthpieces, as well as too many celebrities like Sean Penn and others who are supposed to be liberal and progressive and who are supposed to know better, all toe the official line and repeat the official narrative that this is all part of a worldwide conflict of democracy versus authoritarianism or autocracy, with the good old USA as the good guys going out to stop the bad guys. No. Besides being founded on genocide and slavery and continuing to carry out horrific oppression and exploitation of black people and people of color, of women, of immigrants, destruction of the environment, and horrors against LGBT people, let's remember the US is by far number 1 in the world at being guilty of war crimes, illegal invasions and occupations, and lies to justify them. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Honduras, Panama, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Indonesia, Laos, Korea, Cambodia, Vietnam, just to name a few of the countries where the US has carried out invasions or other military intervention. And let us never forget that the United States is the only country to have ever used nuclear weapons on people. The reality is that this is a fight between big-time worldwide gangsters over turf and control, with humanity caught in the middle and hanging in the balance. The consequences have already been disastrous, and the continued spiral of escalation and potential for nuclear war threatens total catastrophe. No decent person should be joining in with U.S. imperialists in their rivalry with other imperialists. The silence so far from people of conscience in this country has been deafening. Continued silence could be deadly. This must change, and we are changing it. Starting April 2nd, and then building up again around the May Day internationalist holiday, we will be mobilizing rallies to raise the slogans and the demands. No U.S.-NATO war with Russia. Stop U.S. threats with China. No World War III. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to go extinct. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution. Further details will be coming out on these manifestations over the next weeks. But if you have a conscience and a heart for humanity, if you are increasingly alarmed by the warlike rhetoric and moves, if you are unwilling to risk the very future of humanity by going along with or supporting or staying silent in ongoing conflicts and escalating war moves between imperialist powers fighting over empire, then you need to support and be part of these actions. No one with a conscience should stand aside. The stakes are too high, and there is no safe spaces or minding your own business in the event of world war and nuclear Armageddon. Everyone, we challenge everyone, and to think deeply about the following words from Bob Avakian. All this emphasizes why it is vitally important for the masses of people in this country and other countries aligned with it, as well as in Russia, for people everywhere to finally and fully wake up now, recognize the real and profoundly heavy stakes involved, and act in accordance with our actual interests, the interests of all humanity, demanding that this war in Ukraine and the involvement, direct or indirect, of the imperialists on both sides in this war be stopped before it not only causes even greater suffering for the people of Ukraine, but possibly escalates into a far more terrible conflict which causes massive destruction and death on a whole other level, and even possibly poses a threat to the very existence of humanity itself. Elsewhere, Bob Avakian also says that what is called for and urgently needed now is to oppose all imperialist marauders and mass murderers, and all systems and relations of oppression and exploitation, while giving particular emphasis to opposing our own imperialist oppressors who commit monstrous crimes in our name and seek to rally us to support them on the basis of a grotesque American chauvinism, which we must firmly reject and fiercely struggle against. The world, the future that the rulers of the U.S. and these other imperialists are fighting for, is not only cruel, deadly, and insane, it is also not the only world and the only future that is possible. We Revcoms who follow Bob Avakian are taking responsibility to rally and build this determined opposition as part of working for a revolution. A revolution that does have a future for humanity that is worth living in. When we replace this system through revolution, not only will we close shop on all the hundreds of military bases around the world belonging to what will then be the former USA, also, the Constitution we put in place will outlaw nuclear weapons and advocate for their elimination throughout the world. To end, once again, with Bob Avakian, we can no longer afford to allow these imperialists to dominate the world and to determine the destiny of humanity. They need to be overthrown as quickly as possible. No U.S.-NATO war with Russia. Stop U.S. threats against China. No World War III. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to go extinct. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution. Thank you.